Okay. I am seeing my microphone is working. Cool. We're doing an experiment today where we have a cat cam. Hello, Kato. Okay, hello and welcome to Plugging Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugging Along, we worked on the French and German versions of the Yule quick guide. And today we're going to update the options user interface of the Yule of Festival Buddy, which will allow us to configure more than one quick guide. When we first introduced quick guides back for Midsummer, there were a lot of assumptions that there was only one quick guide, and so here's where we get a chance to kind of take a stab at redesigning it to support more than one quick guide at a time. As always, feel free to jump in and chat with your thoughts and questions. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and pull up there we go. Different scene here. Okay, so we have Kato just doing her kind of basic loaf. Hey. Yeah. Do you want any more? You can just stay. You can stay there. Oh, she's got this thing where she's being petted. She needs to be rubbing her face on something. And that's my speaker. Yeah, it's not very stable, is it? No. You want it? All right. You're doing very well. Oh, that one's really small. There you go. Good job. Dame Hypatia says, to keep with the German plus the event, Feuer's Julefest. Well, absolutely. Feine Kerstachen. And hopefully everyone is having a good last week of 2023. Whatever events you may or may not celebrate, we are in the final days of the Julian calendar here. For those who are still on the Gregorian calendar, happy whatever month it is. Okay, so the Festival Buddy. What we've been working on recently is adding in this quick guide. And so what I want to do is, for those of you who haven't seen it or haven't seen it recently, we're going to do a really quick run through. And to start, we're here in one of the neighborhoods, and the far-ranging stable masters have Winterhome as one of their targets for a whole silver. And so we can just ride on over here and get started. Did I remember to bump up my... Okay, good. Sometimes I knock my user, my graphic settings down when I'm alting back and forth really fast. I don't know if it actually helps, but it feels like my computer could do less work. In support of Yule. Oh. And we'll worry about that later. So as you're picking up and completing quests and quest objectives, you'll see them being marked off on the quick guide. In fact, I'm going to move that quick guide maybe up here. Maybe it's okay over here. Okay, so, and as we are picking up quests that have emotes associated with them, Festival Buddy is also trying to be helpful there. If Ona is available, or if her quest, which is not Stuffing the Stuffed, but the biggest stomach of them all, if that quest is available, I'd like to pick it up as soon as I can, because there's a small window in which it is available, and a long time when it is not available. However, we'll keep on moving. Yes, Little Redhead in chat says, Feine Kerstachen. Fantastic. Oh. Looks like I missed moving them off, continuing the quest with Barrett Noel next to Mara Sandy Downs. Now, this isn't a big deal to miss because this is right next to where we're turning the quest in. But it is one of those things where we have a reminder of which ones we have done or not done. It's nice to go ahead and take advantage of those. Now, some people don't like moving them off, and that's okay. If you, from a storyline perspective, prefer not to be doing this for whatever reason, there are still 10 other non-theater quests here Oh, is Onake available? Yeah. There's still 10 other non-theater quests available here that you can get your 10 done. There are 11. Okay, so one of the questions we had over on Little Red Head stream was, can the progression of this quest, which is waiting... It says wait at Onake's eating station, but really we're waiting for her to transition into the eating festival has begun. So can we do that somewhere else? So what we're going to do is we're going to come into our travel skills and travel to kinship member's house and see what happens. Okay, and we can see the quest itself has not failed or altered its progression state. So we're going to go ahead and hang out here in Shire Homesteads while we look at, now that we've seen the quick guide in action a little bit, let's remind ourselves what else we're working on here. So, in the plugin manager, in the options for Festival Buddy, we have a couple of sections. We have some generic stuff. Does the escape key close these windows or not? The main window, is it scaled up or not? And just as an example of that, there's the main window getting bigger or smaller. And then we have a section for quick guide and a section for map options. We also have a debug section, and it would be nice if the background of this section was maybe a little bit different so that we can tell. So let's make that a first objective. So let's come on into the to-do section of here and say options, change background color of debug section. Oh, we have lost the cat. She'll be back. Change the background color of debug section so it's more obvious what is what. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the code changes that have happened recently and see if any of them happened off stream. Sometimes that happens. Okay, so we can see a bunch of things. Any of these blue dots means there are local changes only that haven't been pushed off to the quote-unquote cloud, which is an abbreviation for someone else's computer. And we can see that last Tuesday was the 19th, and since then, there's been a couple other changes. I realized I was checking the client language incorrectly. There was... Oh, yeah. I was talking with someone, probably Tellurian, about the shortcuts in Festival Buddy and how they weren't working quite right for the emotes for French and German. And there is a bug with how shortcuts are created that you can bypass by, instead of creating a shortcut with its type and data passed as constructor parameters, you pass them instead doing the set type and set data function calls and special characters. And when I say special characters, characters outside the basic ASCII, Latin character set, A through Z kind of thing. Those behave better that way. I was doing some basic tweaks here and there. Added in some French stuff, awesome. Added in some translations from Manderval for quest strings and strings, awesome. Did some localization of stuff. I think this all feels like stuff that I did on stream. Excellent. So nothing too new here. So we're going to push those changes out so they're more publicly visible, and it acts like a backup as well. Okay. So I've got something in my throat. Okay. So all that being said, we have a working directory that only has a few minor things going on. We had an interesting idea for expanding this quick guide, highlighting things like quest names and quest givers. But that is a partial implementation, so it's not ready for being committed and pushed out as a plugin update. Okay, so let's go on into the options window. Oh, hey, I see in my quest log, quest channel here, that we have let the stuffing begin, which is the queue that our quest should have updated to eat food at the first station. So that is good confirmation that while the quest objective says wait at Ona K's station, it doesn't really mean it. You can wait anywhere you want. What you're really waiting for is Ona K to progress to the next section of the eating competition. That being said, I don't think it would progress if you were offline. It might, but I suspect not. And it's possible that if you were in somewhere really far away, like Mordor or something, that maybe it would work differently than, since we're still in Eriador here, we're just in a different part of Eriador and in an instance. It's not necessarily 100% going to work everywhere, always, forever, but you can be away from Frostbluff and still progress to the next part of the biggest stomach of them all. That's really neat. Good information to know. Let's go ahead and do the thing we talked about, though, which is coming in. It's so weird having a fork be to the left. I'm so used to my code being on the left and fork being on the right. So we'll go ahead and reorganize this a little bit. Okay, so code. We're going to come on into the options window and debug. Okay, so we have draw options win, and then we have a section where all the debug stuff happens. And all of this is happening within the options window, but we could, instead of passing the options window, pass a different control whose background is changed and whose location completely overlaps the options, but instead the Y location of the control can just be where we want this to start. So let's see, options. I gotta ask, where is this happening? Set top is y equals this, and that's debug y equals that. There's all sorts of math going on here. I don't want to deal with messing with that, but what I will say is local debug options equals a turbine.ui.control. And we're going to go ahead and debug options, set parent to options, and debug options. Let's see, what else? Oh, we can be doing all of this within the debug section. And then, yes, if we even wait until after the option set height, debug options set size, width to options get width, and debug options set height to options get height. What we have here is a control that's completely on top of another control. And this is not going to work for our purposes. It's a flawed design, and I really just want to get something getting out of my hands. We're going to see why this doesn't work in just a moment, but debug options, set back color to turbine.ui.color. Something. Mauve? Is mauve a color? No. Blue, something blue. Blue-violet. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and, first of all, just take a look and see what happens. And the answer is, that's not great. Even barring the color itself, it's not great. And so what we want to do is notice that because that control happened after everything else up here, but before everything down here, it's kind of in between them. And so it's covering up a bunch of things that we don't want it to cover up. So what we really want to do is have design. We want to have options, and underneath that, we want to have non-debug options, and then below that, debug options. And so what we currently had right here was debug options was being parented into non-debug options. That's not really what we want at all. So this is going to be a little bit more design change than just that. And that's okay. Also, that color is just a little bit too much. So we're going to go with like light blue instead. Now that's dark blue? Yeah, good enough. Okay. So what we want to do is back up and take a look. What have we just done? Okay. We only did this. That was the only real change that we did. What we want to do is give ourselves a parent. Well, this one's called options. Hang on. And that's what we want to return. Okay. So local non-debug options equals a turbine.ui.control. And for this one, options set size, we just want to knock ourselves out. It just needs to be a big canvas on which we draw. So we're going to go ahead and say non-debug options set parent to options. And then any other reference to options should now be changed to non-debug options. Okay. Now debug options is also being parented to options, and we need to be passing this to the thing in which we are making stuff happen. Okay, so that was non-debug options, that was changing height, but that's actually going to be not correct anymore, and so we're gonna see that in play. Okay, but that's just a starting point. Let's see how wrong it is. Okay, we can still see that non-debug options is being covered up by debug options, and that's because these things start in the same position. So let's go ahead and instead of setting the height of non-debug options to be 600 more, let's go ahead and start debug options set top to be equal to 600. And we'll kill that. So let's go ahead and unload and load and take a look. Awesome. So now what we can see is a lot of stuff is still here, but I'm not convinced everything is still here. Let's go ahead and say instead of 600, let's make that 800 and see what else we might be covering. And the answer was, yeah, we were definitely covering stuff. What we really want is to say this needs to go after whatever the height of the previous thing is. So let's come on in and take a look at that. So we have options, and we have non-debug options. And non-debug options, we can see we're setting the size to Y. Y is what we should be making use of here. So let's go ahead and set the top to Y instead. Okay, coming in, a load. Cool, and we can see now the blue starts just below that. Now there's nothing in the blue because we were offsetting everything by this tremendously large amount. But what if we instead said quest except complete fail, start that at 0, and suddenly everything has been brought back up. Now we still need more space vertically. There we go. Okay, so we can see vertically if we set the size of the base options or the parent options control to 2000, then we're going to get a lot of extra scroll space that we don't necessarily want right here. We'd really like it to just take into account all of the space that we are using. Right now, we have a lot of hard-coded stuff, heights here. And what we really need to know is how big is the final section here. Let's take a look at this. Let's go ahead and return y from the end of this. And then say local total debug height equals this. And that's not even a great thing to do. Let's just say that we stopped using y for this purpose, but let's go ahead and say y equals this. And then we can go ahead and say options set height equals, options set height, and we want, instead, let's say debug options set height to y, and then we can say options set height to non-debug options get height plus debug options get height. And otherwise, if we're not showing those debug options, then we do want to go ahead and set the options to just the height of the non-debug options section. So this set size here isn't very necessary. We could go ahead and get rid of it. Well, let's set the width at least. Okay, let's take a look at that. Okay, so this is what it is with the debug section enabled. We can see we have just enough height to get the Farmer's Fair Fat Mayor quest in at the very bottom. But what happens if we turn off the debug? Well, where are we looking at that? Set debug options, very top, false, unload, load, and we can see everything's good. And if we lower this down, we can see we're ending just down below the map options section. That's perfect. That's just what we want. And it's going to make it a lot easier for us to see where is the regular section and where is the debug section. Because the regular section is what most people are going to be dealing with. And as long as that looks good, the debug section doesn't have to look good, but usable for me is nice. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the code changes that we just did there and see if we can't commit something meaningful. Actually, while I'm looking at this, it's fine. It's fine. Stop getting sidetracked. Okay. Altered options window to be able to highlight debug section. Okay, so we need to return that y for the height of that section. The options window, the design here, yeah, might as well keep it. UI hierarchy, I'm going to call it instead. And then we're going to go ahead and say, okay, we've got the non-debug that's coming in here. If we are done here, then we'll set the options to just the height of that. Instead of starting the debug section, y height down, because we're all in the same control, we're now in our own control. So we're going to start at 0. And then instead of, again, making that big one taller, instead we're using our own debug options control to draw in. All of these are getting past that new control. And then we're going to set the height of the debug options container to be correct height, and then the total height, the combination of both of them. Cool, all of that looks great. So, change background color. Oh, the debug sections is more obvious. Awesome, we're just going to discard that. And we're done with that. Oh, options window. We do not want that. Very cool. So that gets us one step closer to where we want to be. We now have an options window that's a little bit easier to read. So the big thing is quick guide. Right now, we have a sort of a global option for how long to delay in seconds before a completed item is removed. So you click a thing, how long does it stay there as a reminder of what you just did? And then what quests do you include? Now in Midsummer, this matters a lot more because there's, I think, 16 quests that you can do within Minas Tirith Midsummer, whereas in Yule, there's 11 quests on the quick guide. However, if some people don't want to do moving them off, for instance, there's no reason they should have to see it in the list. And so I still like the idea of having this option. So there's two things we can do. We can just add another section here for Yule, push everything further down, or we could try to have a variable content section that is controlled by a drop-down. The drop-down selects either Midsummer or Yule, and based off of which drop-down is chosen, we change what's drawn here. Or a third option, we just stop going vertical and we start using tabs instead. We could have a tab here for general, which I don't know how general any of these are, but we could also have a tab for quick guides, or we could have a tab for Midsummer and a tab for Yule. You know, we could start breaking things out even more. The easiest thing to do is to go ahead and just add it here, push things down, and contemplate consolidating them into a better UI later. So my goal here is just to make some space for Yule, add Yule and all of its checkboxes, and be done. Just to get something out the door, or to make progress, really. So what we want to do is look in the options window to figure out where is that happening, and try to make it happen. So in options, we have draw quick guide options. Let's go there and take a look. Okay, in draw quick guide options, we have, you know what, that's going to be easier if we can see what we're referring to. Okay, so draw quick guide, we have the label, which is quick guide in this case. Could have sworn I came up with a French version of that. Oh well. Okay, we have remove completed stuff. We have the delay in seconds, label and text box. And we have quick guide quests to include in quick guide. And then we have the festival specific sections. So if we could iterate through each festival, instead of just doing Midsummer, then we could probably just put this in a loop and call it done. So the question is, can we iterate through? And the answer is, I think so. Let's go take a look at our globals and see if Midsummer shows up. And we can see there's a quick guides table that contains the festivals that we have quick guides in. And so let's go ahead and see what it would be like to iterate through that. So we're going to go ahead and just do for key value in quick guides do, and we're going to go ahead and just print that out. Turbine.shell.writeLine. K is, let's go ahead and wrap it in quotes. K, and then V in quotes, and that's probably correct. Let's take a look. Awesome. I did not write something correctly. Let's go ahead and have a plugins tab here. Now this is just a chat tab that has error and standard in it, so it's good for plugin development because those are the two things where we can have an effect. And we'll scroll on down and we see line 170, I did something wrong. Attempt to call a table value. Cool. Let's figure out what I did wrong, because I never remember correctly how to iterate in Lua. Lua for each is really what we want. And I think that what I wanted was pairs, actually. Now there's pairs, and then there's I pairs. Nope, that's still not right. Concatenate local v. Oh, well, here, let's see if there's a dump function in this. Just trying to concatenate bools or nils will get you into trouble. Okay, awesome. So, what do we have? We can see, as we iterated through, we got K8 and K4. If we had done an I pairs, we could probably hope to see those in numerical order. No, we would get into worse problems because that assumes you have numbers starting at 1 and going sequentially with no gaps. So we can't do that. But pairs is fine. It won't give us a specific ordering, and we don't need one. Oh, do we need one? Okay, a new plan, because I do kind of want us to have that. Strings does have them in order. Let's take a look at strings. We have our festivals in a table here. Festivals spring. So if we do, and these are integer values that start at 1 and have no gaps. So if we iterate through festivals, and let's document what we're doing here. Iterate through festivals table. So guides appear in same order here. And so that's going to be in I pairs of, nope, not that. Close that. Yeah. So we're in the festivals table underneath lang. So we want to be in I pairs lang.festivals. So we want to iterate through that and take a look at this. So unload, load, and we can see, since we're dumping out the whole thing, we have K 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those orders are great. And we can see if we needed the value, that would be the textual description of these things. We don't actually need the value, so we're not going to bother with that at all. So we're going to remove that. And we're going to do instead for if this thing, quick guides of K, then, you know what, it's fine. Get string of V. Let's do that. Okay, so what we're actually going to see is, as we're iterating through, we're going to see Yule and then Midsummer. Why are we going to see it that way? Because the order in this drop-down has Yule coming before Midsummer. That's actually the opposite of what I was thinking. I was thinking Midsummer was going to come first in this table. But for arbitrary reasons, the festival listing starts at spring and then goes, I think, through the year pretty consistently there. No, it doesn't. But it is in a historical order, probably the order they were added in. And that's going to be fine for now. Okay, so we can see Yule, then we see Midsummer. So that's how they're going to show up in the options. Fine, that's fine. So for each of the actual festivals, if there is a quick guide, then do something. And what we want to do is, K here is festival. And V doesn't matter. Don't even need it. I wonder if I can elite it, actually. Let's find out. Yeah, that works fine. So iPairs is going to return a tuple, and we're only assigning the first value of that tuple to a variable. The other one just gets tossed away. And if we wanted to be nice to ourselves, we could even say festival number, because that's what this is. But I'm not too worried about that in this case. It's pretty consistently done. So what we're going to do is hoist all of this into this for loop. And easy thing to do, just rewrite the for loop to end there. But for tabbing purposes, let's come on in and tab and tab. Champ in chat has a question. Is there a good intro to LOTRO stream? Bought the game in 2008 on CD-ROM and never played / beat it. This seems a bit more advanced than what I'm used to. So this particular stream is all about plugins for Lord of the Rings Online. Lord of the Rings Online allows you to install plugins, and there's a site, lotrointerface.com, where you can go and find a bunch of different plugins. And so this one is just a plugin focusing on festivals. That's why it's called Festival Buddy. And a lot of, I would say I am one of the few LOTRO streamers who's mostly does not spend time playing the game, but instead plays the coding stuff for the game thing on stream. Actually, if there are other streamers who do this for LOTRO, I'd be curious to know about them. I haven't done a lot of looking. I'm just guessing. But yes, many of the other streamers will focus on the gameplay of Lord of the Rings Online. The streamer who was just on before me, who's in chat there, Little Redhead, very much has a new player-friendly approach. But if you have any questions about the game, I'm more than happy to pause on what we're working on here to talk about plugins or just Lord of the Rings Online in general. I like sharing what knowledge I have, and sometimes that's more than others. Little Redhead points out, you can 100% play the game without using any plugins. Several streamers here on the LOTRO channel, possibly many of them, play with very few or no plugins. Cordovan, for instance, is employed by Standing Stone Games, and he'll play with just the basic, the non-plugin altered user interface, and that gives him a better insight for those players who don't play with any plugins as well. But yeah, if you have any questions about the game that are not like coding related, that's totally fine. Feel free to pop up into chat here and ask them as well. Most of us here who stream on the LOTRO stream channel are not employees of SSG. We're just fans of the game who want to share what pieces of the game we really want to dig into with other people. And for me, that's plugins. Oh, and thanks to Larian, who has pointed out that if for some reason you wanted to follow me outside of the LOTRO stream channel here on Twitch, then you can find me at twitch.tv/b4142135562, which is, of course, me. But just like any good Tolkien-inspired streamer, my streaming name is also Cube, as well as b4142135562, because why not have multiple names for things? Right now, in Lord of the Rings Online, if you do fire it up and get logged in, there is the Yule Festival going on for another week, and that is why we are scrambling to try to finish some Yule-focused plugin changes so that maybe people can take advantage of it while the festival is still going on, and if not, it'll definitely be there for the start of it next time it comes around. Okay. On that note, any place where we have Midsummer here, in all caps, so let's match cases here. We're going to replace that with our new variable, festival. Champ says, very awesome, will be paying attention for sure. No, just gave me a follow. Well, thank you. Thank you for the help and insight into the game. Well, as I said, I'll be here for another hour at least, so if you do have come up with any questions, let us know. What's the old saying? Better late to the party than never. Sure. Trilarian, I do not understand why people have different names on different platforms, says someone who definitely does that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and swap in festival, and festival. Let's take a look and see what happens when we wrap this code that creates a single quest guide and options in a loop and just iterate through it. So unload and reload and check it out. Fascinating. Well, it's not entirely wrong, but it's definitely not right. So what we can see is we've got a Yule section with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 entries, which is way too many for Yule. But some of them are correct. We see empty keg, stuffing the stuffed, abominable snow beast, and biggest stomach of them all. Those are all correct to have in here. So something is definitely thinking that we have 17 entries over here for Midsummer. So we're gonna look into that. And we want to go ahead and remove this. Oh no, we did remove the debug code. Great. Okay, so what's going on within this loop that we've created? We have so much that's called Midsummer. Let's fix that. Should we fix it? We should fix that first. Let's go ahead and fix that first. So we're going to tab out here and come on into our source control and see what's going on. And we can see we added the loop code here, but we can ignore that. And in fact, we will ignore that. I believe in this. So we're going to come on in here and comment that out. And we'll see now if we unload and reload, we only have the one section. Cool. Let's find anything that's named Midsummer that's not that variable and excise it. And that'll be easier to do with a cleaner difference if we do that first. So quick guide Midsummer option label. So let's go ahead and rename that. We want it to be quick guide festival label. Okay. Great. Let's look for anything else. Midsummer. Oh, that was it. Well, I was very much expecting there to be more. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that committed in as its own change. And for that, we just want starting there and over here. I think I'm smelling salmon. Excellent. Renamed quick guide variable to be more generic. Cool, so we're going to save that. And coming back in here, we can go ahead and let's go ahead and get that looping back so we can see what's wrong here. And we'll go ahead and undo those comments as well. Okay, so, that's interesting. Why did you just start working? No, you're not working. You're just broken in the wrong way. Cool. Okay. So here's where we want to go ahead and replace that with festival. Awesome. Okay. Perfect. Now let's start walking through this code. So we have the quick guide festival label. That's working great. We can see Yule and Midsummer. I could see us having a little bit of extra space here though. So instead of that being a one-time deal, let's go ahead and do that every time through. It was a return. That's not right. Great. Y equals y plus 20. And then we can just return y. Read the code before you change it. There we go. Okay. So we can see a little bit more space between Yule and Midsummer here. And then we still have the extra space after Midsummer. Perfect. Okay, what else can we do? Okay, so quest names to key is a new table, and quest names is a new table, but I don't remember why they exist. So we're gonna have to do some decoding of the code here to figure out what the purpose of having two new tables was. And then we're going to say make a checkbox for each quest. So we're doing that in quest names. Okay. So first of all, we have quick guide chains. Let's take a look at this. Quick guide chains. In Festival. What is K? Oh, okay. So we're iterating K and V here in the pairs of here. Great. We're getting the string. Awesome. Let's go ahead and question what we're seeing here in pairs of quick guide chains of Festival. What I really want to do is say what is in quick guide chains. So for KV in pairs of that, do and turbine.shell.writeLine K, and then we'll dump K, and V, I don't want to dump that because that's going to be large. So we'll just start with K. Okay, what is in here? K. We have 8484. Why do we have that? Is this all the same? That's interesting. Okay, so in our options window, we have quick guide chains. Yeah, okay. In our quick guide here, we're referencing quick guide. Okay. Quick guide chains is empty there, and then why is it appearing twice? Quick guide changed K. Okay, let's check the obvious, and let's go ahead and surround this with quotes. I don't understand that. Okay. Let's dump out V. And just take the hit on it being very long. In fact, let's go ahead and assume it's going to be very long. Okay, so 8V, we see aiding the stable hands, honoring healers, great. Lots of stuff that we'd expect. Then we see 4 in the Spirit of Yule, excellent. Then we see 8 again, aiding the stable hands. I'm not understanding why we're iterating through this twice. This is... I must be missing something. But then we come on back through and we get the rest of this. So, past me, what were you doing and why? That's okay. Let's go ahead and I just don't feel like pairs should behave like that, so I must be missing something. Okay, so we're iterating through the chains in this festival. We're getting the name for something, but it's not working here. And so what's up with that? We want to get string for the quests of that. So there must be a difference between how these things are being initialized. And that's fair. Let's go ahead and figure that out. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the quick guide chains. Awesome. And the chains are based off the key for a quest. So when we see a cure for all ills, if we search for just that with no extra text, in quick guide we should see a cure for all ills is here, but we should see it somewhere else as well. Let's see, we can see that there. Excellent. We see it matches a quest over here in Midsummer. That probably means we're able to look in Lang quests and find the thing. Awesome. So does that mean we have a mismatch between what's in here and over in the strings table? Probably. Let's take a look. Let's come on up to Yule. Oh, yeah. Looks like I have some undone work. Fantastic. That happens. So for each one of these entries in here, and we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, we're missing those entries in the Yule table. And what is this? This is a lookup table that from this key gives us English and German and possibly French. We can see it does give us some French. So let's go ahead and fill it in. And we're going to take advantage of a tool that I wrote. I just got to find it. All right. I'm going to do that on another screen here. It'll be a little bit faster. Let's see. Label lookup. Great. So what we're going to do here is use the thing, what is an exe file. It's going to load up the keys for the various languages, and let us do this. So what we want to do is say broken snowman. Really? I must have something wrong. Just a moment. No, not deeds, quests. There's a question mark in there. Of course there is. So, with that, these are the translations, and there's two different places where it exists, and we can see the translation looks the same for both of them. So that is fine. So we're going to come in here and say broken snowman equals, and then we're going to go ahead and do the three of them. So we have English equals this, we have French equals this, and we have German equals this. But sure seems like we could automatically create that if I made some edits to this program. We're only doing this for a couple of these, but my goodness, it's so tempting. Let's do it. Or let's try to anyway. What was this? This was the label lookup. And what did we want to do? We want it to look like this thing. So We can go ahead and keep writing these all out, but we also want to go ahead and also output in Lua format. This is Festival Buddy II's Lua format, and that will look like this. And we don't actually want the front part of this, we just want the back part of it. And let's see, are we doing spaces or anything? No, it's fine. Okay, so that. So what we have here is bar Lua equals, and we're going to go ahead and use an interpolated string for this. And if you paste into an interpolated string, Visual Studio knows well enough to go ahead and escape those braces, so that's going to be very convenient for us. And then in here is where we're actually going to put the thing. Bar lookup equals new dictionary string string. I think will make sense. We'll go ahead and look up kvp.key. What am I iterating through anyway? Oh, maybe I can just use results. I don't even need to do this. I should remember what I'm doing. Okay, so if we do result dot item 2, and we go ahead and pass in en, that'll be fine. And we'll do the same for the other two, and we'll see how that works. Lord Zach says, hello. Hello, Lord Zach. Happy last week of the year to you. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Well, that's disappointing. I forgot to actually write the thing out. Oh my goodness. Let's try that one more time. Oops. Okay, broken snowman. Awesome. And here we can see English, French, and that's going to include the space that is printed differently than, that has a different encoding than a different space, and German. Awesome. So we can go ahead and copy this, coming on in to here, and that's what we're going to put there. And ideally, if we come on over to French, well, it doesn't say it's a different space. Let me double check that. Yeah, okay. It is not a different space, so we're good. It's working correctly. And we're going to go ahead and do that for each one of these. So, charitable spirit. We get this. And we can go ahead and swap that in. Cold as ice. Like I said last time, it would be nice if I could automatically copy that to the clipboard, but I haven't figured that out, and that's okay. Filling the field. Interesting. I must have the name wrong. Capital T. Why is it capital T? Don't know, but it is. Okay. In the spirit of Yule, now the real question is, why did I do a case-sensitive search? I don't know. It seemed like an easy thing to write. It is kind of the default thing. If you're just doing a string comparison, you get case-sensitive comparisons. So you do have to write differently in order to get that. That's okay. Making mischief. Copy those in. Okay, moving them off. Tidying up. Unwilling firewood. What you doing, little one? Yeah, you're on camera. Yeah, you're gonna rub against my speaker and make it fall over? Is that what we're gonna do? Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't you just sit there and stare at me? Alright, here's our unwilling firewood. And finally, Yule Festival daily. Okay, so that gives us those translations that we're looking for. And if we go ahead and unload and reload here, we're going to see awesome. Most of them are here. But what we're going to be confused at is why are there some that are not here, and why is this one selected false? So let's come on in and see if we can't figure that out. But in the first place, we do have to ask ourselves, do we want to keep doing this tabification of the text? And the answer is, I don't feel strongly about it, but I will agree that as long as they're in this file, it does look a little nicer. But somebody thinks, well, instead of tabifying it, they should be in separate files, and then you wouldn't need to, but I don't feel strongly about it. But I'll go ahead and do it for right now. Of course, the trick is to tabify the correct thing. Okay, so at least the start of this looks nice and organized, and of course one can go ahead and do the same thing over here. If you have multi-selects going on, you can at least do multiple lines at the same time, which is what I'm doing here. When a couple lines are similar to each other, you can just get them to the same starting point, like this, and then do a multi-select, put them all into place. There's usually plugins that will help do this on a broader basis, and there might be this that for Lua as well. So if you were doing this all the time, I wouldn't be doing it by hand. I wouldn't recommend doing it by hand. Get yourself a plugin that understands how you want your tables to look, and it can go ahead and do all this for you. But in the meantime, here we are. They did end braces too. How bonkers. Now, in the past, this file has used tabs instead of spaces. At the moment, all those have been replaced with spaces. As we can see, the highlighting character is a dot instead of an arrow. So that's the sign for a space instead of a tab. this kind of a tabification or a columnization is more resilient if you have used tabs instead of spaces, because you get a couple of characters wiggle room. And if you're doing 8 space tabs instead of 4, you get a lot of wiggle room before it bumps to the next tab or back. So you can make a single character change, and usually the columns aren't messed up. But in general, I like spaces over tabs, so I don't get the advantage of that. Okay, so we have our Yule filled in. So first of all, what's going on here? Let's go ahead and get a sense of what's being asked for. So let's come on in and load this up. And where are we? So in options, go ahead and shrink this down a little bit. We make the label Yule, and then we go ahead and iterate through stuff. So let's go ahead and see what we've got. We've got turbine.shell, shell. Sure would help if I spelled turbine correctly. Quick guide chains, festival, K. And then we're just going to figure out what K is in this case. Okay, so we can see we start off with Inspirited Yule, Stoking Stuff, Charitable Spirit, Firewood, and then the Abominable Snow Beasts. Biggest sum with them all. Let's go ahead and say if festival equals, because I only care about Yule. So if festival equals Yule, then spit that out and... Okay, this window is obviously not quite big enough for us to see what we want to see. So make it bigger, and we can see loaded Festival Buddy 2, and we can see this stuff. So, what's going on? A Broken Snowman is near the end of this iteration. But we're populating quest name to key and quest names. So, a Broken Snowman, let's take a look and see why this doesn't work for us. If we look in strings, we can see it's a Broken Snowman like this. In here, we don't see that. Broken. Oh, we are in midsummer. That's going to make a difference. Let's come in into Yule. Okay. We see a Broken Snowman. If we come into strings, we see a Broken Snowman here. And that's visible. That's good. But what's coming before it? There must be a different mismatch. Oh, of course. The biggest stomach of them all, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. Okay. That is a consequence of how this works. Okay, let's come on in. Biggest stomach of them all, we're going to go ahead and bring this down. And we want 2, 3, 4, and 5. But of course, they are differently named, or spelled, I should say. And so the biggest stomach of them all, part 2, looks like that. And so let's go ahead and grab that. Okay, so back to strings. 2 is going to look like this. 3. We need 4. I'm guessing that'll be IV. Excellent. And of course, 5. Okay, so if we load that in, we're going to see biggest chunk of them all, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Awesome. We can see those labels are not quite big enough for what we're trying to display, though. So if we come on back into our options window, and we see these labels, checkboxes, let's go ahead and set the size to 325. Just make it a little bit larger for right now. Great, those all fit in. So that was the first thing, is we had blanks because we didn't have lookups. And the way this was assumed it was going to work is every quest chain that's listed is going to need to be reflected here. And we can see that we've gone ahead and arranged these alphabetically, and that's what's going on in this iteration. We want to present the Is it? Hang on. Is it always alphabetical? It sure looks alphabetical. How is this guaranteeing that it's alphabetical? We want to present the quest chains alphabetically. This code presents the quest chains alphabetically. How? Okay, so first thing we're going to do is go ahead and not dump out that information. And come on in, and we can see we no longer need this output either. Okay, so we get a local name and quest name to key. We get a name equals k, and table insert quest names that name. Awesome. And then we sort quest names. Okay. Turbine.shell. WriteLine. Quest names before sort. And we'll go ahead and dump quest names in here. And we want the same thing, quest names after sort. Let's take a look at that. So we can see beforehand, aid in the stable hands, honoring healers, toss a coin, cure for all ills, all sorts of stuff. But then after it, the indices are still 1 through 18, but we can see that the quests are showing up in alphabetical order. And apparently I was misremembering. We technically have 18 quests in that quest chain, but I suspect some of them are at least the wrapper. And in Yule, we can see that's going to do unfortunate things to the sorting of the biggest stomach of them all, where part 5 will come before 4, which comes before 3 and 2. Or does it? Beforehand. Oh, good, no. Okay, the sorting does accidentally work. That might work all the way through 49. That's convenient. Thanks, Romans. I'd have to double check that, but naively it does work through 5, and that's all we need to care about. Okay, but beforehand it was just randomly. So we can see we are getting alphabetically sorted here. So we want to present. Okay, how do I turn off autocomplete in Visual Studio Code? That is weirding me out. Visual Studio Code, turn off autocomplete. Gotta restart it to make take advantage. All right, well, it's worth it because that just got really obnoxious really fast. Inline suggestions. Well, you don't do it here, do you? Great, go away. Okay, let's give that a try. Okay. So we want to present the questions alphabetically. Put them into a table with numerical indices, quest names, and sort that table. Then iterate through that table, looking up the keys in quest name to key. Perfect. Okay. That tells us what's going on here when we look at this next year. I can tell your head's just getting cut off. Can you come like 2 inches that way? No? Okay. I'll just crank this up a little bit. Okay, your ears are just on screen now. Good job. Okay. So, we want to present the questions alphabetically, put them in a table with numerical indices, sort that table, iterate through that table, because we can iterate with a consistent order through a table with numerical keys. Problem solved. Iterate through that table with I pairs or number. Yeah, number. Looking at the keys in quest name to. Oh, that's funny. I could be doing I pairs. Iterate through that table. Yeah. Look into keys and quest names to key. At least I assume that's what we're doing. Yes. Awesome. So, a real question is, did we solve the problem? Why is making mischief not correct? This is probably a case where we're looking something up incorrectly. So we need to look and see how that's populated. Set checked. We're going to come in quick guides, settings, quick guides to use, festival, quest key. Okay, let's go take a look at that. Okay, so we do have a making mischief that looks spelled correctly at least. But what we want to do is take a look at the save file for this character and see, did something weird go on? So that save file is going to be in the standard location, Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, plugin data, account. We're looking at the server, and we're looking at the character. And we can go ahead and toss it open in our favorite editor. And making mischief. Yeah, it's false. Did I accidentally click it at some point? I guess I did. That's weird. But if I go ahead and turn it off, we can see making mischief stop showing up. And when I turn it on, it comes back. So, cool. Okay, so we've made some really good progress here. Let's go ahead and take a little palette cleanser break and see it in action. And we're going to go ahead and pop on back here to Frostbluff. Winter Home. Now, we were able to pick up Onike's biggest stomach of them all. And we can see that that is still active even though we were not in Frostbluff. So let's go ahead and plow on through this real fast. Now, Little Redhead does like to let the initial debuffs wear off by going and doing other things because they only last for, looks like 4 minutes. I, on the other hand, don't have time for such things. So we're going to just go on through. Now, that Mr. Drink, that was a lucky for us because it did clear all of our debuffs, so it's like we just spent 4 minutes in the field. And again, as has been mentioned, berries are best. If you are using the Festival Buddy plugin, you can see the percentages here. Berries are -1% to your run speed, mushrooms -3%, eggs -5%, pie and bread. What are you even doing? Don't do that. But more specifically, -10 and -15%. And do mount up before you continue, if possible, because it will save you just a little bit of time. It makes these tables just much easier. If you can get most of the berries and mushrooms, though, it doesn't matter if you get the mystery drinks or not. Yes, Little Red had no time for such frivolities. Now, that bad mystery drink will not affect your run speed if you're mounted up. So it's yet another reason to mount up between tables. I've got like a -40% or something on my walking speed, but my pony does not care about such things. Possibly a goat. But here we are. That was 5 berries. Effectively, no change to run speed. -5% is hardly noticeable by itself. And we can see a lot of berries at this table as well. That being said, we're doing really well here. So let's go ahead and clear some of the heavier foods, just for anyone coming behind. We have a full minute at this table. So we went ahead and did some of the bigger stuff. But you can see how much of an impact it has, not just on the run speed, but on your induction speed. And that's where it really is going to hurt. If you have a bunch of bread and pie in your system, your induction speed gets ridiculously slow. You can see how much worse downing this dense bread is now compared to a minute ago. But this will be number 3. And we'll go ahead and do a berries, and look how slow that berries is compared to the normal almost instantaneous speed. And don't forget to turn it in. You can fail if you just forget that. I just completed some deed. Neat. Okay, so that being said, at this point, we can continue on with the quick guide. So let's grab that stash of fireworks. Pick up these quests. And loot these patrons. If you stand just about center between these two diametrically opposed patrons, then you're close enough to activate all of them, or queue them all up, I should say, without shifting around. And the game is very flexible, well, I should say very generous in how many actions you can queue up. For instance, if you're farming as a farmer, you can, if you have a quick enough tool, you can plant 20 crops in the ground and then just use your select next target item, select next item, use, select next item, use, and you can queue up 20 field uses. And then just, look at something else for a little while your character works through all of those. Oh wait, we're right here. Let's go ahead and do some dishes. And that's what I actually do right here on this table is use and then go to the next one and use, and then hands off. My character will just work through them. As long as the character doesn't move, everything in your action queue remains. I wonder if the UI has anything about that. I feel like I remember something. Show skill queue. I mean, sure. Where are you going to show it? I'm not sure where it would show it, but I don't see it. One of the key things for farming is it's very, very handy if there's a neutral thing that you can use if you don't land on one of your fields. And so the purchasable... I guess the cat is out. the purchasable crafting farming field is really good for this because as a housing decoration, it is selectable and usable. It pops up your crafting dialog. And a lot of the fields, like if you're standing around and breathe, those fields are not selectable. So if you're too close to a crafting table, or if you're too close to someone else's field and you're trying to queue up multiple fields in a row, you could end up selecting something that is not immediately next to you, causing a character to start moving and completely emptying your queued up farming items. So the purchasable housing field is super useful for forcing your character to be able to stand for these 20 plus queues of harvesting plants, which is incredibly useful if you want to plant a bunch of plants and then process them and then be able to look away from the screen, look at something like, YouTube is my distraction of choice, but I also have so many other things to look at that I can do while farming because I don't have to be looking at farming the whole time, or whatever I happen to be doing. With the Enduring Universal Toolkits, and Gundabata I think is an enhanced version of that, you can get 20 crops out. I forget if I went for more than that, but at a certain point it starts being almost unwieldy to try to queue up all those planted fields. So 20 is a nice number where you can reasonably just select use, and then okay, I've clicked on the field, so I've gone through all of the crops that are between me and the field. If any of that sounds like gibberish or you have any questions about that, let me know. We can do a quick little demonstration. Because my kinship has one of those. I'm not sure whose it is, actually, but it's incredibly useful. Okay, so we are ready to move out of town. So we're going to go pick up Filling the Field and get that Broken Snowman quest going. I haven't figured out a better optimization for this, because you have to leave town to get the quest, but you need to go back to town for the coal. So I end up at the very end of my route, popping out, turning in the snowman, and coming back into town. But I haven't sorted out what feels like a more optimized way that includes the snow person. But if you are moving them off, you could just skip the snow person. It's kind of a freebie 11th if you're already doing everything else. Hey, I'm a hunter. I should run faster. I don't play a hunter very often. It's not as instinctual for me. Okay, quest guide says collect 9 firewood. Let's go ahead and get that done. And as a level 91 hunter, my auto attack is great. If you did not know or have forgotten, your tilde key is your default key for enabling auto attack. So if you are looking at something or targeted on an enemy unit and you press tilde, you'll go from passive mode to auto attack. And then if you're close enough and you have an auto attack, then you'll start using it. My minstrel only has an auto attack at melee range, which is a little inconvenient, but hunters or anyone else with bows, they can do this super fast. When I'm in here with my lore master alt, it feels most painful because so many of their skills have inductions. Alright, let's go check out the Abominable Snow Beast. When you get close enough, you will get the emote automatically. And part of me wonders if that was not always the case, because Festival Buddy does provide that extra box that pops up when you're doing that quest with the /cheer, but that just feels redundant in a world in which you automatically get the emote when you're close enough to use it on your quest guide. So I'm wondering if there's a history there being exposed with how the client user interface used to look. So if you were around in LOTRO 10 plus years ago, I'm curious if you remember that happening. All right, and we're done with the loop outside. So we went up, we did Snow Person, we got the eggs, we've got the unwilling firewood, the berries and the frost, the abominable Snow Person, and the mushrooms, and we're back in town. Storm in chat says you used to have to type /cheer. Okay, so you do not remember the emote button popping up automatically as part of the quest guide. That would definitely make sense. Okay, let's go ahead and drop that off, and we do the inner circuit again, where we're coming on in. We need to do another circuit of the beggars of town, this time with charitable spirit. But we're going to pause in the middle of this circuit in order to use the oven, grabbing the coal and the keg. So while you're here by the stairs, duck on up and grab these. I like to start with the oven. It's got such a long induction time. It gives me time to get my mouse over the coal and cue that up. Oh, nice. Ginger says the button did not pop up the first few years, and it didn't tell you when you were close enough. Have you always been able to do all three of them on the same beast, or did you have to hunt out three of them in the woods there? I love these peek backs to how it used to be. Okay, we got the 3 bread, we got the coal, we're picking up the keg. There's no quest channel indication that you have picked up the keg, and so the quest guide doesn't know. Oh, here comes the guard. It really throws me off. When the watcher stops moving, the eye disappears from the mini radar, and I think it would be safe to run past them, but I'm rarely brave enough to give it a go. Okay. And at this point, we can turn in all 4 of these quests to this couple here. I guess I already did tidying up, or I must have. All right, popping back out for Broken Snow Person, and then back in to complete Charitable Spirit, and we are done. Now, if you do like to make giant snow people, then I believe the snow pile for this is this one? It's one of these 2 farther ones. I'm gonna hope it's this one. Nope, wasn't it. It's not instinctive yet. Ginger said you used to cheer all 3. I think you're saying 3 different Yule beasts, or the same beast 3 times. I'm not sure which one you were saying. Okay, coming on in the front door at this point, because we just need 2 more of the beggars and to talk to Daily Utteridge and Mara Sandy Downs. Now at this point, if you've done everything else, you have completed 10 quests, and so you can go straight to Mara and turn in both Spirit of Yule and the Daily Yule Festival. But don't forget to get to Barrett Noel here in the corner, and Ted Ives here, hidden in his little corner. Okay. So that's the full quest guide. So what we want to do is we want to try the quest guide with some of the quests not enabled. At the very least, moving them off. That's probably the most likely that people are going to want to skip. So I'm going to go ahead and get myself out of here, and then alt over to another character. Okay, Ginger says there are 3 beasts, and you used to have to cheer each one. Okay, I get what you're saying. Part of me is curious if you could have always done one and it took people a while to figure that out, or if there was some sort of a change to the quest that made that more possible. Okay, we're going to go ahead and switch on over. Let's come on with someone else who needs experience. Yeah, as Dame Hypatia says, now if you're fast, you can cheer one 3 times. Okay, Ginger says we tried cheering just one to start with. It did not work. That sounds much harder because there's not that many abominable beasts in that section of Frostbluff, is there? Okay, how is our subscriber town services? Plenty of time. Let's go ahead and get on over to Winter Home. Are these grounds? How strange. Ginger says that was the first year of the festival 16 years ago or so. Yeah. Okay, so we have the In Spirit of Yule. We're going to go ahead and get rid of that. And so let's come on in and adjust our plugin. So I actually forgot to load the plugin. Whoopsie. And we're going to come on in to the settings. And we want to pull up the quick guide. Okay, so we just took In Spirit of Yule. We can mark that off manually. Okay, so moving them off is the most controversial one. So if we remove moving them off, or put it back, we can see moving them off has the first, third, fourth, then after, and between making mischief, another 3. So if we get rid of moving them off, we can see between making mischief and doing making mischief, nothing is there. That really shortens a bunch of this. If we wanted to go ahead and say, you know what, a broken snowman is also kind of annoying, we can deselect that. And, you know, what else? What you could say that biggest stomach of them all, 2, 3, 4, and 5 don't actually contribute to the daily wrapper, so maybe they're not worth doing. And those should be removable as well, maybe. But let's go ahead and just play around with deselecting a few other things. Maybe you only want to do biggest stomach of them all. Okay, so that would look like pick up biggest stomach of them all. Oh, speaking of which, hey, Ona. Biggest stomach of them all, great. And then you would see, wait for it, and then, oh, that's interesting. Turn in the Yule Festival daily. There is no option to turn that off. Yeah, I think that's fine. If you're doing at least one quest here, you're going to be able to do that. You shouldn't not do it. Yeah, that seems legitimate. Eat at the first station. 4th, 5th station. Yeah, it all seems good. Yeah, Dame Hypatia mentioned nowadays several characters can cheer at the same beast if they time it right. Yeah, once the beast has walked off enough, they stop being receptive to your cheers. They were never that receptive to your cheers anyway. And I've definitely had a successful time with Little Redhead where we've coordinated our out-of-city adventures together so we get combination credit for firewood and for the Grims and for the cheering. Okay, so that's what that would look like is if we were just doing this. And you know what? We can just do this because this is available. Let's go ahead and start eating. Well, there is a mystery drink here. Eggs aren't that bad. Let's go ahead and have some. Nope. Little Redhead came up on someone cheering one at a time and managed to cheer one they did 3 times before the beastie walked off. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a speed increase if you know that you can combine them nowadays. Oh, I'm still moving slow from that mystery drink. Ouch. Okay, I didn't see a lot of good stuff here, so we're going to get some eggs. Otherwise, it's bread and pie, and you just want to avoid those if you're going for all 5 tables. Unless you're doing a challenge mode. Now, we have another 35 seconds left in this quest, so we're just going to take our hands off, resist the temptation to go for pie and bread, and see if anything better comes. We do already have mushrooms. That's pretty good. The mystery drink will always spawn at the same location at each location. And in this case, it's on that far table there. But we're about 15 seconds out, not seeing it. Travel time and whatnot means I'm just going to take the mushrooms. Mount it up while we're checking with the NPC. And with 4 seconds remain, we're doing great. Alright, lots of berries. Another berry over on that table. Great. And we'll even take some mushrooms. Now again, we're going to pause here for a moment. You don't have to wait all 40 seconds, but, give the Mr. Drink a chance to spawn. Otherwise, yep, it did not, but we'll take these berries. Alright, mounting on up. Alright, berries and mushrooms, a great start. And we'll even take those eggs. But again, must face target. Why? They're mushrooms. What are they doing? Skittering around? But we're going to go ahead and wait 10, 20 seconds, see if we can get something better than eggs. And we can. Alright, final table. It really doesn't matter what we're getting as long as we can finish in time. So, on one of those tables, something not too objectionable, and on here we have plenty of good stuff. So, we're good. We're so good, in fact, I'll go ahead and get bread for at least one of these. If you're having trouble clicking things because of this effect, go ahead and use your use key, and especially your use next key. Or, sorry, not select key and select next. But we'll go grab eggs. They're slow enough at this point. Okay. Bam. And that distortion fades. So what we can see is that when we limit the what things will show up in the quest guide, everything works the way we were expecting, which is awesome. And we're going to go ahead and... What? Oh, that's funny. I never got the Yule Festival daily quest because I never crossed enough boundaries to get it to auto-bestow. No, I did. Why didn't it work? I must have gotten it after the first table. That one is a little unpredictable on when it gets applied. So let's go ahead and add in a charitable spirit to the list. We're going to go ahead and pick up a charitable spirit from Daily Utterage. Now the good news is the setting here should only affect whether it's visible or not. If you do something and then make it visible, it should still be tracked as being done. But we're going to go ahead and just do the charitable spirit quest here so we can turn in the daily as well. Greetings indeed. Okay, Marrow Sandy Downs, Onake, and turn it in. Oh, someone just pushed Barrett off. We'll get Ted Ives before they circle back around. Okay, and then we'll just camp. And go. Barrett, come back from Resistance headquarters. I need to give you money. There we go. Okay, turning that in. Daily Utterage. And back to Mara Sandy Downs. Bam. That's really nice to see. Everything seems to be working the way we want it to. So first we're going to go ahead and unload and reload. Everything looks good. And then we're going to come back in and activate all this other stuff. Yeah, except moving them off. Why not? And we can see that only the things that we haven't already completed are showing up. Everything else that was completed is still remembered as being completed. This is just affecting the visibility of a quest chain, but not whether we track it or not. So unload and reload. If we come on back in to that save file, we can see the quick guides to use for Barimer, for the 2, are separate from the quick guide progress. But that's strange. Of course, because we logged on to Barimer. That's going to be a completely different save file. Okay, so quick guide progress. We can see our progress for Yule. A bunch of quest objectives are done. And this is probably a limitation in the save file format right now that I should address is this is your positional index in a long list of objectives. But if you reorder those objectives, it doesn't remember how that's different. And part of the problem is when we come in and look at how those are stored, and there's definite improvements that can be made here, I'm sure. The ordering of this is we're adding an objective and we're just adding them one index at the other. So it would probably be better to be storing it by the objective key instead of by the index. So let's make a note to ourselves. Save file format. Save. And what is this? This is quick guide progress. Quick guide progress using objective key, example given, and Spirit of Yule pickup. Instead of index, e.g. whatever it is, 1. Storm says, I didn't know until this year you could cheer 3 times because I was so used to doing it the old way. You can. It makes that quest much more tolerable. Okay, so we have a save file format change. And whenever you have a save file format change, there's a question of how are you going to support both the old and the new? And the answer is check to see if it needs to be changed whenever you load the file. Or possibly have a file format version flag in the file. And if it doesn't match the current version, then go ahead and do the update. The dtracker plugin has this problem where the file formats have changed so much over the years that there's a lot of code and a lot of tables that are used to drag you forward through time. And these are things we don't want to have loaded normally. We don't want to pay for that cost. So we check the version in the file format first, and then if that file format needs to be updated, then we load in all of the extra stuff. So it's definitely a thing you can do. This file format is so simple, it doesn't really need that level of complication. Okay. Okay. There are a bunch of new quests now in this list that, this really makes me think that it would be helpful to have a hidden flag, because the biggest stomach of them all, we just don't need that many versions of it. Okay, so quests have add hidden flag for things like biggest stomach parts 2 through 5. Okay, so I think we've made some really good progress here, and now seems like a good time to bring the stream to a close. We're coming up on 10 p.m. here in Central European time, and so now's a great time, if you have any last-minute questions, comments, concerns, to toss those into chat. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and wander on over to our source control and see if we can go ahead and make some sense of this. All right, so first of all, we can see in our strings, we did not bother to tab out biggest stomach. You know what, I think we're going to do those separately from everything else because they're just so much longer. But we'll go ahead and tab them out. Why not? Consistency and all that. It wouldn't actually be that different to include them all, but we'll go ahead and leave it like that. Those can stand alone. Okay, so we've got biggest stomach of them all. We don't care about space changes. We've gone ahead and incorporated all of these, and including biggest stomach 2 through 5. Awesome. Added missing quest entries for Yule. That was in strings. What is going on in options? Might be easier to see it if we ignore the space changes. Okay, ignoring the space changes, the tabbing, if we don't, then everything's changed, all of this. But options window now shows all quick guides. And really that's it. So this change, that was the festival. We just added some comments. That doesn't need to be in here. Festival, changing the size of the checkbox because of those biggest stomach quests. Midsummer to festival, yoinking where this plus 20 happens. That's really it. We were able to change very little to make that happen. And if we could have made that even more straightforward if we, instead of using midsummer, if we had first said, local festival equals midsummer, change all those references, and then gotten rid of that and introduced the loop, and then there would have been almost no changes. That's okay. Options window now shows all quick guides. Great. We still have this. It's not going to be in use. We have some to-do file changes. Don't need that. So, to-do file changes. Oh, in that options commit, accidentally grabbed the whole thing. We want that to be false. Accidentally committed debug options. Okay, but we do actually want that to be true. Okay, so we've got this work in progress that's not ready for prime time, and we've got should debug options. Everything else is good to be pushed on out. And sometime the next week, hopefully, I will be able to release this. I might try to add a couple of these quest guides, however. For instance, a broken snowman, or the other snowman as well, have that textual guide of where can you find the bits for the snow person. That would be nice. That would be nice to have. Okay, neat. Still no cat. Okay, with that being said, I think we're going to be bringing this to a close. That's everything we're going to cover today. This is a bit of an off week for a lot of streamers, so don't assume anyone is streaming, but I believe both Little Redhead and I will be back next Tuesday, which I think is the second day of the next year. So that'll be exciting. And so we'll be back at our regular time and place. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a very nice last week of the year. And with that, cool. Yeah, thank you very much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you all here next week and next year. And until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.